Hello, this is Usha Menon, and I'm beaming from Singapore. I'm so delighted to be part of IFAB 2020 and to talk about fundraising both between Asia and Africa. And there's so much happening that I would like to share with you some of my experiences, some observations, as well as some insights that I have been gathering that may be of help to you in your efforts for raising funds for the awesome work that's being done on the African continent. What I want to share with you is 3 points. First of all, the corporate sector. All the companies from Asia that actually works in Africa. That's a great opportunity to get engaged with them in a way that it meets the needs of the communities in which they work. The second point I want to talk about is high net worth Asians. People who have traveled and lived in Africa and now are based in Asia. How do we engage with them? And I'll share with you some tips on that. And the third point was Generation Next, the youth of Asia. And having worked closely with them, I know they are global citizens and they really want to make a difference. And I share some insights into how they think and feel about working with their youth friends in Africa. So let me start with the corporate sector. Some of the names are very well known. You have Samsung, you have Sony, you have LG, you have Tata, all Asian organizations and corporate sectors who are having a presence in various parts of Africa. And if you really look just at the smartphone data, with Huawei and Samsung taking the lion's share of the smartphone usage in Africa, that's a big presence. And even if you don't know where they work, who are the people who own them, in your backyard, chances are there are dealers, there are distributors of these brands. That may be a possibility that you can collaborate with. The graph that I'm showing you, while there is a substantial 22 million, say in Samsung smartphone alone, even if you take just the very small 5%, that's over 1 million individuals who actually own a Samsung phone. And that means these retailers and the corporate has data on who are these individuals. Why am I telling you this? Because I've found that if you can reach out to that segment and talk to them in a way that you can collaborate to give a better customer experience, to work with vendors and suppliers in a more constructive manner, not just a grand proposal, but really thinking of ways in which you can creatively engage the corporate sector, there is funds to be raised. And not just funds, money, but relationships, networks, collaborations, that's possible. The same goes with the Indian companies. Again, I've given you a list of some of the bigger known names like the Tatas, the Godrej, the Bhartis, Mahindra, and so on and so forth. But then there are others too, as I've highlighted to you in the other table, and locations at which these organizations work. How can you work with these organizations? Be they Japanese companies, Korean companies, Indian companies, Chinese companies. I would start with doing some research. Where are these organizations interested in? And what kind of areas of need do they want to address? So if you look at some of the annual reports or the sustainability reports of these companies, like I have given, like you see in this slide, they identify which of the Sustainability Development Goals, in this particular case, LG wants to focus on. And if the work you do comes in that space, chances are reaching out to them and talking about them in their language make a big difference. The other point I wanted to talk about was high net worth people. Now, Lara, she and a family from Mumbai, India, travels to Africa 6 times a year. And every single family vacation, they spend 80,000 pounds. Now, why am I giving you this information? I would love for you in the comment section, just put down your thoughts. Why is this information useful, or how will you use this information in your fundraising strategy, in your thinking? If a family like Lara's spends 80,000 British pounds 6 times a year in Africa, be it Botswana, be it Rwanda, wherever they go, and the other thing they like is going, they have a bucket list of eating at all the top restaurants in Africa. That's what they do. That's the lifestyle. Do you know where they eat? Do you know which resort they live in? Do you know where those charter planes that bring them in? Chances are it's in your backyard, especially if you're in a tier 1 city. I would love for you to think of, do you know an agent that brings in people like Lara to your state, to your country? And is there a way in which you can engage with them? And I'm saying this because I know you can. You can work with them to provide them with an ability to make a difference while they are in Africa. But right now with COVID, travel's not happening. And that's why I wanted to share with you the next slide. What happened to that 80,000 pound that Lara would have spent on a single trip? That's on the table. So this is an example of how in Singapore, when COVID struck, we wrote to every person we knew who drove. Of course, you need to figure out how to get the data of people who have a car. And that's very easily doable. Your donors themselves may have it, or different, as I said, the resort, if there is a collaboration, you could figure out who are those people. And online, we just asked, will you give up your petrol spend so that we can help causes that in this time where COVID has brought a standstill to a lot of funding, you could pass on that petrol spend towards charity. How does Lara come into this picture? What happens to the 80,000 pounds per vacation that she has not spent for the past 6-7 months? So if you could reach out to someone like her and say, would you, since you've not spent that amount of money, still make a difference in the lives of African children, the continent, the climate, the animals, whatever the cause that you're supporting? Would you donate part of that towards a cause? Like in the case of donating tickets, in the case of the art. When COVID came about, a lot of these concerts didn't happen. But people have been setting aside money to buy tickets. If you did not use that ticket, can that amount be donated? $2,000 just because you asked. And isn't that the fundamental of fundraising? Fundraising is about giving people an opportunity to make a difference. They may choose not to give, or they may choose to give. And highly likely, they would choose to give. So I just wanted to share this idea that can you work with individuals or organizations that actually have been working with Asians, this high end tourist or otherwise, to look at opportunities of collaboration, of introducing them to your cause during their time in Africa or online, and then moving on to ask them whether they would come on a journey with you of relationship, not a transaction, not just will you make a donation, but will you understand the need and hence the way in which you can support. And I found that's very powerful because once a person knows why the money is being asked and they feel connected to it, the stories impact, then highly likely they go on the journey. And in order to be good at your digital outreach, one of the things I do in Singapore is run an accelerator on how to do digital fundraising. You could figure that out in your own organizations. What is it I need to do in order to be digitally savvy so that boundaries are no longer a limitation? I can reach out because I can reach out through the internet. So, some of the things that the accelerator that I run teaches the charities and their leaders and their fundraisers are how to do email outreach. Is it possible for you to collaborate with one of the resorts that bring in individuals like Lara? Or otherwise, to have an email outreach with them because you have a solid story to tell? How can you make sure the story you tell is impactful? How can you use Facebook? For example, this is the Instagram page of LG, the Korean electronics company. They have over 73,000 followers from Africa on their Instagram account. Are you one of them? Are you understanding? What are some of the things that make the users of LG's products tick? Is there a way in which you can collaborate with LG to reach out to the 73,000? Or Sony, the Japanese brand. They have 1.3 million Facebook users just in Africa. Friends of Sony. 1.3 million. Can you figure out how you are able to engage with this database, which is very much active in Africa? So it is not just about the corporate as a company where you write for a grant proposal, for a grant. It's about that matching their customer base. So it's not just about Asia helping Africa. It's also the users of an Asian brand in Africa working together to make something bigger, better happen. So those are some of the ideas I would like to share with you because I find that that works. Of course, if you just want to sit behind your laptop and your Excel slide forms and do a aid proposal, well, that's your choice. But then there's something just so not right about aid, especially in this time and age. It's about collaboration, it's about partnerships, it's about working together. And all of these ideas totally excites me rather than just write a handout aid proposal. Because we've moved on. Africa has, Asia has. And I think as fundraisers, we need to move on too. And that brings me to talking about Generation Next. Our international schools, for example. There are so many schools across Asia. And I've just given you one example from China. It costs £30,000 to put a child into international school. And very often, they come from families that are willing and able to support causes anywhere in the world. How are you in your overall fundraising portfolio looking at specific areas in Asia that you can connect with? And international schools being one very, I find, a good way, because not only are you reaching out seeking support, but you're also giving these young minds an ability to understand and empathize with Africa the way you want it. The narrative is yours. So you can say it the way you want Africa to be positioned. And isn't that what we want? Whether I'm an Asian or you're an African, we want the narrative to be the way we want it, as opposed to what an outside lens tells us we are. And I find working with these young minds in Asia through international schools gives an opportunity to connect. This slide is just a sneak peek into just a few days back, me working with students from the international school across China, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangdong. And I want you to listen in to what they had to say, because these kids are actually raising funds for the sanitation, the toilets in Africa. They've chosen that as a project. And they're talking to me. And I asked them, why do you want to do it? So I want you to listen to what they have to say. Why do you want to help? So, can I start with the man in the group, Hank? Can I ask you?
Fine.
Just 1 minute, why are you doing this?
Yes, I want to support Africa because I want to improve my experience and I want to try to help others as I can. Um, and I think it's unfair that I have a toilet but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to help them to have a clean place for pooping.
As much as I can to help them. And also, like, Africa is a new culture for me. I don't know them much, so I think I should try some new things. Like, for me, it's a good thing too. So it's a double win, I think.
Yes, I want to improve my sense of social responsibility, and I want to help the children in Africa. The projects will be a good platform to connect me with the world.
I've actually been to Africa twice. I went to Kenya once and went to those like little villages, and I saw how like bad the condition is. Like they don't actually have like an actual toilet, and it felt like very sad because I care a lot about hygiene. So yeah, I really want to help those people. When I was in like fourth grade, I think, my mom put on like my mom are selling like my two paintings for like a charity, and it sold over 10,000 RMB.
Yeah, and that is when you're 4 years old. That is 10 years back. Now, 10 years now, people are so much more prosperous, I would say, compared to 10 years back, right? You heard from them. And it's so inspirational for me, because they're not saying, oh, we want to send money to Africa because they're poor. They're saying it's a win win. I learn about a culture I've known not much about. And that's the kind of world I am most excited about, where fundraising is not about money. Fundraising is about meeting a need that exists in our community, and we do it in a collaborative relationship way, rather than just write a grand proposal for an aid. I hope this has been of some value to you. I'll see you to answer some of your questions soon, and I sure hope your comments will also inspire me to understand the way we do fundraising between Africa and Asia. With that, I'd like to say thank you. If you ever want to stay in touch with me, my website is on the slide, and we can keep up this conversation in a moment. Bye bye.